Hi, it's Vaishali. I've been told many times that I ought to write a book, and maybe someday I will. If I wrote a book, however, I know that what I'm about to say here is going to be a very big chapter. I hope it inspires you. A small handful of us have sailed through life unscathed by any significant trauma, but the majority of us have endured some kind of deep personal loss. The passing of a loved one, perhaps, the end of a relationship or long-standing friendship, endured emotional or physical abuse, lost identity from moving countries, or even been displaced by things like war. I know that I've been through maybe a couple of those. It's well documented that there are 7 stages of emotional healing. There is awareness, acknowledgement, acceptance, then we feel the pain, then we grieve, then we might forgive, and then we move on. And once you've gone through all of those hurdles, you are expected to show signs like increased self-awareness, improved relationships, greater resilience, and improved health. I don't know about you, but that sounds like a lot of work. If you are, or ever have been caught up in this vortex of where am I in this journey of days, months, or years slipping through my fingers, I know how you feel. I felt the same way. I think, for me, the vortex was somewhere between acceptance, feeling the pain, and grieving. The more I tried to get through these 3 stages, or even tell them apart, the more I felt I was sinking inside myself, away from everything and everyone I knew. It was not until I woke up one morning when I was walking at the edge of that cliff, so to speak, I had hit rock bottom, that I knew that I had to change my game. And I didn't really feel like I had control over anything at that point, but what I knew clearly was that I was running out of all the mental strength needed to keep trying. I did what some might consider extreme, but this is not why you're listening to this talk. What I've learned is that a complete change in focus is needed, away from the textbook healing journey and away from yourself. In my case, I rejected the drugs and the endless talks I was being given, but I was also fumbling with what the recourse might be. I've always known that all the answers are within me, but everything that I knew was working for me was failing me. I found I couldn't live in the same house. I couldn't do the same job. I couldn't lean on the same people anymore. I had little left to lose at that point other than my own sanity, so I decided to change my environment. I took a longer leave from work, unafraid that they might not keep me at all. I explained to my loved ones that I must go. And then I flew to a different and less developed part of the world that I was not familiar with. And I stayed in a sanctuary. And no, this was no picnic. I tell people every day that those people beat the devil out of me by forcing me to shift my entire focus away from myself. From 4 a.m. to 9 p.m. every day for 2 weeks, I took care of others unless I myself was scheduled to be in some kind of physical or mental boot camp of my own. Most of the time in complete silence, so there goes the theory of talking. When I wasn't on my knees washing floors and chopping vegetables for literally hundreds of people, I sharpened my yoga, meditation, and breathwork practices, and I became laser focused on what was it that others needed of me. And then I became curious. I observed that acceptance was not one big hurdle to be conquered once and for all. Instead, I discovered that acceptance may just be a mindset to develop in millimeters by letting selflessness dominate my mind space. I ate the food that was given to me. I ate it when it was given to me. I accepted my daily duties. I accepted that I had to climb a big hill at 4 a.m. in the dark and didn't know what lurked in the woods and faced all the fears that were within me, only to find out that at 4 a.m. in the morning, somebody was not waiting for me up there. These were small acts every day of letting go of me, mine, and I. I thought I had no time or energy to feel anything much for myself in those days, but quietly in the background, my pain was working its way in a very different way. It felt more like purpose than pain. I was self-constructing instead of self-detonating. The process of servitude, or seva as we call it in Sanskrit, did its work on me. And in this way, I shed my old self, and I weaved a different fabric, a far more malleable, transparent, softer, and stronger one. After this, I walked on the streets of this country amongst some of the most impoverished people I have ever seen. I ate with them. I played with their children. I played with children who didn't belong to anyone. And what did this do? It put everything into perspective. I rose from the depths of my pain to see how fortunate I was to have the cards that were dealt to me in this lifetime. The grieving process lasted years. But strangely, this new fabric I wore now actually exuded much less fear and so much more gratitude, abundance, and acceptance. So people ask me, gratitude for what? That sounds painful. I actually felt so honored and grateful that I was chosen to have that loss and go through this experience. I felt like this valiant soldier that was called upon for duty for the first time. And yes, eventually, I did come back to my tribe, my career, and my life better than I ever imagined. This was one time I truly understood how dangerously self-indulging our suffering can be. I'm not suggesting that you go take extreme measures like me. I'm suggesting that you take the focus off you, find something of greater purpose that puts you in a no-brainer predictable schedule so you no longer obsess and fumble aimlessly through this journey of healing. Something that helps you discover what you still have left to give instead of everything you feel you must receive. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. It may not come when you want it to, and it may not even look like the way you want it to. But that is the universe teaching you that you are exactly where you should be. And you do not control the outcomes, we only control the effort. For all that you feel you have lost is actually part of a much greater karmic reality, and your loss, this loss, is but just a chapter in a much bigger story of an epic life journey. I've created the Smile Meditation for anyone who has or not endured trauma, but knows that they are spinning in the vortex of grief, anger, or loss. Together we meditate to manifest our courage to remain soft and kind despite the hardship that life is going to continue to throw our way. If you're sitting there listening to this, and perhaps for the first time you feel acknowledged for what you've been going through, even if you appear strong and confident on the outside, only you know how shattered or defeated you may still be on the inside, I would welcome the opportunity to listen to your journey and maybe offer some advice if needed. I hope you come. Go to book.meetandvia.com and let's set aside that time. Talk then.